Welcome to this inaugural session. On behalf of Images, on behalf of IRF, a very warm welcome. It's now in its 7th year. A lot of us have been in this conference for maybe, at least I've been now attending it for the last 4 or 5 years. And I must tell you that I don't come from this industry. I come from the hospitality, from the tourism industry. And I think it's this one particular forum that I've had probably amongst my highest learnings for this industry. Today, as we run Select City Walk, I'd like to thank Images, thanks Mr. Taneja, that will give all of us this forum for really shared learning, for experience sharing, for creating the right ecosystem where he brings a galaxy of people from right across our industry. So be it shopping mall owners, be it architects, be it retailers, be it consultants, be it suppliers. I think it's a place where we've all generated a lot of ideation, a lot of great learnings, and I think this is a great ability of Images to bring us all together, and I must say congratulations to Images for having done so. This 2 days, I think we have a galaxy of sessions. You've already gone through a couple of them in the morning, and you will spend more time over the next 2 days listening to speakers. I think we have amongst the stalwarts of the Indian industry, we also have some international presence this time. We have the president of IKEA, Southeast Asia, Mr. Christian Olofsson, who's actually going to do a 2-hour workshop on how he perceives the tenant-retailer relationship. And I would encourage each and every one of you to actually attempt to hear in. I think it's a great opportunity to get a new perspective on how the big boxes look at our industry. We also have Mr. Christopher Mears. He's a shopping center professional, a director who's looked at certification of shopping centers very closely. He comes to us from Malaysia, and I believe his knowledge and presence will greatly help all of us understand deeper the challenges that face our industry. As part of my inaugural address, I will take the liberty of maybe speaking a couple of minutes on what I believe are some of the key things happening in our lives at the moment. And I think the single biggest factor affecting us all is this theater of politics that is being played out in the economy over the last 6 months. And I think we are now at the fag end of that theater. And really, if you look at it, it's 750 million people eligible to vote in this economy, to vote in this country. It's the single biggest democratic process that has happened anywhere in the world. The West, we're actually looking at how India has actually played out this theater. I think all of us with abated breaths will wait for 16th of May, when hopefully the country will set a new agenda of I think, stability, of growth. And I can certainly say that there is probably going to be a lot of surprises for all of us positively going forward. And I think as an industry, we should already look forward to heightened growth coming forward. Very recently, I had the opportunity of reading an AC Nelson report on the consumer confidence of India. I actually track that quite strongly. I read that because it gives me a sense of what's happening amongst the consumer preferences of purchases. And I noticed that India has probably gained 6 percentage points in the first quarter of 2014 over last year. And we have come back to being the #2 globally. This is, mind you, AC Nelson's projections is a global one. It covers North America, Europe, Middle East, Asia Pac. And we are, I think our rating, if I recall, at the top of mind, was 121, whereas Indonesia was 124, and we were the second best in the world. So I think if we were to just look at what's going to happen with politics, hopefully, God willing, everything plays out as per plan on the 16th of May, and I'm sure a lot of us in the room are not just voting and supporting, but also praying that we get really stability going forward. But I think this consumer index is actually going to move forward. It's actually going to create even a greater consumer pull for our businesses. as we go forward, I believe that we have some challenges. The challenges that face our industry today are still inflation. Inflation is a real threat to this economy. All of us realize that probably most of our growth is coming inflation-driven. We will continue to have a weak currency. I know there's been a lot of debate on the fact that if the Modi effect comes, I'm not talking politics here, but if the Modi effect comes, then the rupee exchange will probably go closer to 55, 56. I personally believe that in a high inflationary economy, you are going to be looking always at a weaker rupee. And if some of you track the Chinese yuan, which you should, because that's really a benchmark for exporters, that's steadily depreciating as well. So India and the RBI will constantly keep creating a weaker rupee, I believe. Okay, there might be spurts of growth and positiveness, but a weaker rupee affects our business, especially the businesses that are importing their merchandise to sell here. So white goods, high-end garments, luxury, I think we'll have a little bit of a challenge going forward because obviously cost of imports will constantly go up. And really inflation will continue to drive our problem zones. A weak monsoon is what is forecasted, which obviously is something none of us can control. That does create, in a sense, opportunities. It also creates negativity in the spending pattern. So I was just hearing Ajit mention that sales in Bangalore of ACs have more than doubled. He sold 5,000 ACs, 5,800 ACs last week. So you can imagine how the heat wave benefits some but affects the others. So there is obviously a lot of talk around the economy, but I think good things are ahead. I think we're all positive. We have to be positive. The one interesting challenge, I believe, and I think which is a key differentiator from my own position. I had the opportunity to chair this conference last year, and I didn't speak on it so much because I didn't think it to be that relevant, was the presence of the e-commerce and m-commerce going forward. And I think that is now clearly visible as both an opportunity and as a threat. And I think each and every business has to probably look at the crystal ball and say that in the next 5 to 10 years, how will our businesses evolve, looking at the e-commerce and the m-commerce space that is there. Because truly, it's going to be internet everywhere. The traditional forms of businesses at various stages of their lives will soon start to suffer from the consequences of a new distribution channel. And the youth, the young, the demographic profile that India presents is certainly going to embrace that technology very well. Last year, I wouldn't have believed that fashion would be affected. I wouldn't have believed that fashion would go so fast under this thing. But I think it's the classic case of the Middle East, where they went from the camels to the Rolls Royce. I think we're going to leapfrog this whole generation of organized retail. If you just simply look at the growth of organized retail versus the growth of e-commerce, m-commerce, I don't have the exact numbers, but I presume and believe that it's higher. There is m-commerce, e-commerce is going to grow at a higher rate than organized retail. And we know that in our country, organized retail is anyway a challenge. There is issues of infrastructure, there's issue of land banks, there's issue of the bureaucracy. We all know it takes at least 5 years from conception to opening of a shopping center and the challenges that go behind it. So I think we will see a leapfrog of organized retail. Once 4G, Reliance Jio comes into play, smartphone growth, I think are all going to be massive game changers for our industry. And I think it's truly a time for us all to reflect on how we will embrace it. I come from the hospitality and tourism industry, and I have just one example to share with you. That in the beginning of this whole, and travel and hospitality actually was amongst the first industries to embrace e-commerce, where you had situations where branded hotels were sold at prices lower by portals and consolidators, and soon the brands realized that their brand integrity was being compromised. Their brand positioning was being compromised. You could find products at a cheaper price from them by intermediaries. So actually the hotel and hospitality industry got together I don't think they cut lies, but I think they all kind of simultaneously realized that times have changed. And they actually decided that if there is if there is a price that they present of their product, that would be sacrosanct to their portals. And they started building it. So today the Marriotts, the Starwoods, the Intercontinentals, Taj, actually make a bold statement that says the best price is what you get at our portals. And I give this example because I do believe that a lot of the intermediaries, the Flipkarts, the Amazons, will attempt to come with large amounts of cash to retailers. They will go out there with $1 million, $10 million and say, we buy your inventory, but we will sell it at 40%, 50% lower than the shops. And I think that is going to be a challenge for the shopping centers going forward. I think it is going to be a sincere challenge, and I do believe that even the best of shopping centers in this country will see a trend away. So I think it's an opportunity. I don't think it's a threat, but I think it's an opportunity for all of us to get our creative juices going, to seize the opportunity, to look at what this opportunity gives to each and every one of us and embrace it accordingly. We at Select City Walk attempting to build our own e-commerce portal, and I know it's not easy. There is no one right answer, because on one hand, we have giants with private equity money who don't care about profits. Our business is run on the basis of dividends and income. Okay, we can all sustain 1 year, 2 years, 3 years of investment. But at the end of the day, our shareholders, our boards will look to us to say, listen, where is the dividend from this initiative? And that's a big gray space out there. And I know even we are struggling to come up with the right formula. We will, of course we will. And I'm sure each and every one of you in your businesses will come up with the formula. And I'm sure this topic is hot amongst everybody. It's a subject which is of interest to the industry. And I think we as an industry have to rise to it. We have to work with our retailers. We have to explain to them the opportunities. We have to explain to them the threats that affect our business. And I think collectively, it will be good for the customer. The customer ultimately is the king. The customer will have choices, logistics. You have already seen the Amazon launch 2 weeks ago where they're promising literally 24-hour delivery, cash on delivery. You can send goods back. So there's a new paradigm that's out there. And I think as an industry, we have to deal with it. So with these few words, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to just close my opening remarks. I once again welcome you to the 7th edition of the IRF. Great opportunity to network. We have really, truly a galaxy of industry experts from within the country, externally. Each and every one of you must not just only listen, but I think please contribute. It's a great opportunity to interact with peers, with leaders of our industry, and I think collectively we can make a better future for ourselves. Thank you very much for attending IRF, the 7th version of it. God bless you all and good luck. And now may I invite Anuj to take over this session and give the opening session which he's moderating. Look forward to spending time with each and every one of you through the next 2 days. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Arjun. Thank you for the opening remarks. Sets the tone very well for the next 2 days. Before I deep dive into our opening session, I do want to thank Amitabh and Anjali and the full team, for putting together this phenomenal show. They have been on it for the last 12, 13 years, every year, putting up the retailer and for the shopping center format, which is really very well respected within not only India, but also in the international community. So thank you very much, Amitabh. And I don't see Anjali in the room, but she's been instrumental in putting all this together. I have got a very interesting topic. So when this was sent across by the images team to me, I was like, wow, how could you have actually thought of this topic? And the topic is very far-reaching in what is expected out of this industry. And the topic is, how can we have the top 5 malls globally out of the 20 in India by 2030? So we've got about 16 years, and we're saying is, out of the top 20 malls at a global level, how can we have 5 of them in India? I can tell you that today, there is no way that we are in there. I'm not so sure that we would be even in the top 50 or 100 malls at a global level. So we're saying is, fast forward 16 years, and how are we going to make sure that what we're doing today actually brings us in the global atlas. I've got a phenomenal panel in here. Arjun, who needs no introduction. Actually, none of them need an introduction, but as a formality, I'll do that. Arjun is the MD of Select Group. He's done this phenomenal mall in Delhi, which is really where any mall owner who wants to do their first mall wants to go and see that. It's like the mecca of the mall, the Select City Walk in Delhi. But as Arjun hinted, this is not his full day job that he does. He wears several other business hats. Next to him is Atul Goyal. Atul is the managing director of Fund Republic eCity and all the real estate that comes along with it. And Atul was amongst the first pioneers to have set up the multiplexes across India. Next to him is Ajit, who's pretty fascinating in the way that he's led the electronic retail industry in India. I've known Ajit for many years, and he's worn several different hats before coming in and heading up Chroma. It's Infinity Retail, and he's the managing director of that. And to my immediate left is Irfan, who's coming all the way from Bangalore. Irfan is the CMD of Prestige Group, again amongst the first who had set up the retail malls in India, and Forum, which a lot of us know of the mall, which has been extremely successful in Bangalore, was conceived, conceptualized, and well operated by Irfan. I think it's coming to a 9-year tenure now, and it's probably going through the refit out as we go along. So the topic, how can we have 5 of the top 20 malls at a global level in India? And I thought if I was to just rewind 16 years, because 16 years ahead we are going to look at it, what it is going to be in 2020. If I was to just rewind 16 years and say, where were we in 1998, and bring out some data facts, bring and compare those data facts to 2014, and then fast forward it to say is, where are we going to be in 2030? So I'm going to do that in the next 3 or 4 minutes. And then I'm going to request Ajit, who's got 4 slides, very articulate, for him to just go through those 4 slides, again, data points, before we deep dive into the actual discussions. So in 1998, we had 55 cities with 1 million population. In 2014, we have about 83. Going forward, we'll have about 120 cities by 2020. The overall India retail industry, 16 years ago, so 1998, was 5 lakh crore. Those who are from the international world, I'm not so sure in dollars how much that comes to, but it's 5 lakh crore. Today, it's 25 lakh crore, so it's about 5 times of what it was 16 years ago. In 2030, we expect that to be 250 lakh crore. So it's actually a big jump going forward, 10 times. The organized retail was less than 2% 16 years ago. It's about 8% today. And going forward, we believe it will be 24% getting into 2030. There were really negligible malls in 1998. Today, we have 308 malls. So about 300 malls that we added in 16 years. Going forward, fast forward 16 years, we believe it will be 450 malls, which is very interesting. We added 300 malls in 16 years, and we're adding 150 malls in the next 15 years. So that is one data point which is lower than the growth that we've seen in the previous statistics that I gave. But the next one probably makes it more understandable why the number of malls are lesser. If you were to look at 1998, there was less than 1 million square feet of organized retail. Today, it's 80 million square feet of organized retail. And going forward, we're saying 225 million square feet. So in terms of the square footage, it's growing faster than what we have grown in the last 16 years, which means really there are going to be perhaps larger sized malls. So the number of malls are not going to be as much, but the square footage is going to be even more greater, what we have seen in the past leading up to now. The average size of the mall was about 200,000 square feet. At this moment in time, it's 360,000. and we're saying is that going forward, it will be more than 500,000 square feet. I've got several other data points, but quickly, just 3 more that I want to put it together. In 1998, a lot of the malls were strata title sold. So going from 1998, when the first few malls came up, leading up to 2005 or 6, it was a lot strata title. Today, they are largely developer-owned malls. Fast forward 16 years, it will be developer-owned malls, but it will also be institutional-owned malls. You know, just as a data point, Blackstone in India today is the second largest developer of commercial office space. They have 21 million square feet that they own in India. So the institutional funds have started to play into the office asset class. I think it's only a matter of time that they're going to start playing in the retail. So going forward 16 years, there's going to be institutional investment players who would own these malls. It used to be facilities management before. It's mall management today, and it's perhaps going to be portfolio management going forward. The last, which is an interesting one that we thought, was in 1998 and leading up there, it was pure rents at that time. It's today MG and revenue share, so minimum guarantee and revenue share. We think going forward it'll be only pure revenue share, and hence that the intricacy of the developer with the retailer will be a lot more than what we've seen through an evolution. You know, hopefully the financial institutions will understand, the investors will understand that how they can value the mall when it is only a pure revenue share. Parents used to take kids for shopping in 1998. I think today the kids take parents for shopping. I think if you were to fast forward, I think a lot of the kids will be finding their prospective partners within these malls. So there will be a lot of spouse searching that'll happen in these malls as you fast forward 16 years from now. So that is what I think is 16 years from today, and then going forward 16 years. With that as sort of the base of our discussion, I'm going to pass it on to Ajit. Ajit's got, as I said, 4 slides, and he's going to run through those data points, and then we're going to open up the panel for discussions. But we're very happy to have questions from the floor. So about 20-25 minutes, I'll roll this panel on the stage, and then very happy to open it up for the floor to make it a lot more interactive. You know, you're not going to find this kind of a panel sitting in with a shopping center, forum, because you've got some great guys coming in on the mall side who've been very successful, and some great entertainment and retailers sitting on the panel.
Amitabh, Arjun, and Anuj, thank you for inviting me, and it's a great honor and pleasure to put the retailer's mind across the mall developers. My first statement will be that successive governments have failed, and I'm not making any political statement here. Successive governments across states and at the federal level have failed to create a recreational facility for the citizens of this country, and that creates a unique opportunity for us, both of us together, we as retailers and you as mall developers, to open the malls which will be unique, and there will be at least 5 malls in 2030. So I think if we look at it as a terrible story for India, then we'll only head for disaster. We take this as an opportunity. I think we will be in a position to create those 5 malls, what we are looking for, by 2030. I want to know, in the city of Bangalore, which is so close to Mysore, and Irfan Bhai, you can comment on this, is that we have seen successive governments coming and ruling Karnataka, but after those wonderful Vrindavan garden and so on you have in Mysore, how many gardens got created in the garden city of Bangalore, where one could comfortably take his family out on a Saturday or a Sunday? You are a IT city, so Saturday, Sunday is an off day for you. You can take your family comfortably and enjoy the weekend with your family, probably do sunbathing or go to a public swimming pool where 5,000 Bangaloreans come over there, have the great F&B facilities, and just enjoy themselves with their family and not to enter a mall. Government has failed it, and we as retailers and mall owners should capture it. That will create an opportunity for us to create the malls of tomorrow. While creating the malls of tomorrow, I just have got two pictorial representations of two great malls in Dubai, because we as Indians love going and shopping in Dubai or Singapore. One, the fish tank one, is the Mall of Dubai, and the other one is Mall of Emirates. Within no time, Mall of Emirates is currently starving to get the footfalls. Why did it happen? They also have a skiing slope, which is a USP they have at 44 degrees, and they struggle to get footfalls. Mall of Emirates has opened, and they have this great fish tank. You can, go and feed fish and do all sorts of things. But this is an Asian phenomenon. We need to be mindful of it, that every time in a city a new mall has opened, the older ones have struggled to get the full footfalls. There are exceptions. Select City is there. Irfan Bhai runs a wonderful mall in Bangalore. They are doing the refitting of it. But we need to be mindful of these things. We as retailers are also, we need to be cautious of it. I want to take you through the two slides. The next two slides are about statistics. And this statistics is a little different than Anuj's statistics, which was more retail oriented. But just look at the opportunities. And this is a study done by McKinsey's. Okay? The 590 million city dwellers we will have, which will be 2x the population of US today. 68 cities will emerge, which will have 1 million plus population, which is currently 48 today. 91 million middle class households from 22 million, which is today. 70% of the new jobs will be generated in the cities. Not so good number over there, because we need to, as a country, need to create jobs on the back end as well. 7,400 kilometers of metro and subway, which will be needed. Now, whether government will provide that or not is a question mark. And this is where we as mall developers or as retailers probably need to extend our hand to the government and say that, hey, I'm Prestige Builders, give us this side of the city, and we will be responsible for developing the city in totality. Something called gated city kind of a concept needs to be evolved, and then only we will be in a position to see 2030 producing 5 great malls in this country. Couple of things which have to happen together. This slide, I won't go through it, you can read it, but I do want to ask a provocative question to the mall developers. To date, I have been heading Chroma's business for past 7 years, and I would like to say it with my right hand on my heart. Not once one developer has called me that, Ajit, can you please give me your inputs as a retailer? How do I go about developing the mall? We are trying to go 16 years forward. I'm talking about today. Can we not look at getting our malls in a better form today than talking about 16 years ahead? If we start that journey from today, that we together work to, there are hypermarkets which requires a refrigeration room. I go and meet the landlords and the builders. There are builders, I classify them into two communities. There are builders and there are mall developers. Mall developers are more professional, and the builders tend to be selling blocks of land, blocks of flats, and blocks of shopping center areas. I shy away from those type of builders because they have zero commitment. But Anuj, under your leadership, if we can institute some kind of a dialogue rather than meeting here annually, and take the inputs and even improve the today's malls which are not performing. Classic example, I was visiting a southern city last week. Somebody had a great mall in the southern side of Bangalore. That mall has a terrible, terrible footfall because it only moves in the left side direction. On the right hand side, there is no footfall happening. When I started the dialogue saying that if I can put Chroma on the ground floor, trust me, I would like to have a ground floor location because none of you know what kind of statistics I deliver. I deliver in the sense Infinity Retail or Chroma delivers. 60% of my customers pay on credit cards. My ASP today is close to 10,000 rupees. How many of your retailers deliver that kind of ASP and that profile of customers is my question. When I started discussing with Arjun, it was very easy for us. In 2 minutes, we could close the conversation because we saw a professional across sitting and he understood where chroma needs to be placed. We did enter his mall much later, but he gave us the right location. Please try and understand your retailer, its portfolio, the kind of customers it's going to attract, the kind of ASP it's going to deliver. Arjun was talking about somebody propagating the profit sharing, or even, profit sharing is the model I think that will work in future, and not the revenue sharing, because the mall developers need to make investments into retail as well. Western countries have seen that, and it is a model. People, trust me, people laughed at me when I was propagating the revenue share model in this country 8 years back. But today, that has 60% of our properties are on revenue share. So we need to start thinking differently. And my request to all of you, my friends, is that please look at this business very seriously. It's not a real estate business. It's a long-term business. Luckily, we have people like Arjun who are in the hospitality. Prestige also are in the hospitality in some way or the other. They understand the gestation period for hospitality and retail is much longer. Retailer doesn't make his money next day when he opens the store. So allow us to give that little breather. We are here as your partners. We would love to work with you, give you the inputs, and then we can design the malls of tomorrow. Thank you.
It's very kind of you, Ajit. I think you made your point pretty direct to the mall owners and the audience who's sitting in here, and I think that's a great start to our discussions. I'm very happy for the lights to come up. Actually, we don't have any PowerPoint presentation, so if you want to put up the lights, I think that may be better. We can also see who's sitting in here and who's yawning. So that we can keep the pace of the discussions going. I think interesting point that you mentioned on the partnership, and we'll probably come to that. I thought of 5 constituents leading up to 2030, which I wanted to really discuss. One is really what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with the retail sector, what's going to happen with the consumer, what's going to happen with the real estate play within that real estate stroke infrastructure. And the last point, which Arjun mentioned in his opening comments, was really on e-commerce technology. What is really going to happen to that? So those were the 5 broad constituents and buckets that I wanted to discuss. Irfan, if I can turn to you, and we were going to sit in here. I think a lot of us will have very little hair, no hair, or gray hair. I think a lot more fatter and older than what we are looking today. And you were to reflect where our economy and the retail sector is in 2013. What would your thoughts be? So 2013, 16 years, economy and the retail sector.
Both Arjun and Ajit and yourself brought up some very, very important points. Now, you did that flashback and then front forward. Similarly, let's flash back on what we were in 1998 in terms of spend, in terms of retail itself. The same Mr. Ajit Joshi wouldn't have been so confident in 1998 what he is today, selling the consumer goods and the capital goods. So that's actually a pointer to us that the job creation has happened. In the last 10 years, whether we like it or not, I mean, it's not 10 years, it's about 14 years. It's a sea change in job creation, sea change in the earnings, sea change in the capacity of people to buy capital goods, consumer goods, spend money on their families and shopping, and that is a huge given. Believe you me, when Anuj was talking about the Forum Mall in Koromangala, it's much smaller than the shopping center which our friend Mr. Arjun has built in Delhi. But when we conceived it and we were building it, the biggest nightmare that used to run in my mind was, no, not how to sell it. I was thinking, look, it was probably just one idea, and I said, look, I pursued that idea, and I said, look, it has to be done. So we got the right ingredients, the right people to do it, and we delivered. But the nightmare that was running when you really sit back and have some time to think was, look, am I building something where nobody is going to walk in? Is there going to the shopkeepers are going to sit there and squat flies? There's no trading happening. Of course, I mean, saying that, this is a success story. There are certain shopping centers today in India which have been built that mob psychology happens. And we have a similar situation in some parts of the country, but that's a separate thing. But it's when we opened our doors, and believe you me, even like we have our cinema operator PVR there. I went around the world with Ajay Bijli, trying to look at what he was visualizing along with us. And we designed an 11-screen cinema with 2,500 seats. Just about 4 months before opening or 6 months before opening, he walks into my cabin and says, look, I think I've done a market survey. I believe Bangalore can't take so many seats. It can't take a gold class and all of that. So he got cold feet. Then I literally say, look, Ajay, after going around with you, I think I know a lot more about multiplexes along with you, I've learned. Now, the thing is, either you do the whole thing or you do nothing. So he looked straight into my eye and said, is that so? I said, yes, that is so. I said, but I also told him that in case things go wrong, I'm there to support you. I mean, I'm not going to, sort of hold you to ransom. But you have to do it, and do it in style. And today there's no looking back for him. There's absolutely no looking back, and today is the largest cinema operator. Now, cut and go back to 2030. Today we are in a different period. Some things have gone absolutely right. Some things have gone wrong. Now that's probably a function of how we did things. And like another very nice right thing that Ajit said is, we can't look at mall development as pure real estate. It's not something which is just something per square foot or whatever that is. It has to be, see, I have said this, we said this 14 years ago. Today I'm saying it. Probably if I'm there in this business 16 years later, I'll say the same thing, that it's a function of retailer making money, and retailer makes money, he will give you the money. If the cash register doesn't ring, then nothing is going to work. So we have to think of, first is for whom I'm making this center, for why am I building this center, what is my objective, what is it going to serve, what type of retail is coming in, and am I going to make a success of it. Now there are so many ingredients that go into it. It's the location, it's the accessibility, it's your tenancy mix, your entire catchment that is there, and a whole lot of stuff. Like Dubai, again, Ajit brought out this, he showed us the slides about the Mall of Emirates, and I don't think we can even think and conceive of doing such a huge development and make money out of it.
And even in 2030, you would say?
So it's huge money that is required. It's capex. Like let's hope the Blackstones of the world and the capital lands of the world bring in money. And see, it's all about how much capital that you put in. What's your cost of capital? Today, cost of money is about 12, 13%. Okay, you rentalize it. See, now in office space, you go for a lease rental discounting, your banker will do a 9, 10%. But if a shopping center goes, he won't do anything 11, 12%. He won't do anything less than that. Now, that is the cost of money, plus your investment, your own money. And if I'm not getting that return, if I don't get an 18 to 20% return, then there's no sense in doing what we are doing. So that, I believe, retailers also need to understand that. They also have to get their model right. It's not only the developer who has to get the model right. It has to be a partnership, I agree with Ajit, and it has to be two-way traffic. It can never be one-way traffic. And that is sometimes I feel very sad. When we do these large shopping centers, sometimes retailers know that we need them as much as they need us. But what happens? The arm twisting happens. The negotiation happens. And at the end of the day, you don't know, you do your damned and you don't do your damned. So it's not that we don't want to have a partnership with the retailers. We want to have a partnership with the retailers. But we also want the retailers to think from our angle. We are more than willing to think from their angle. We are more than willing to support them. Like how 14 years ago, I told Mr. Bijli, look, I'll support you if your cinemas go wrong. You know what I did at that time? When we do these rakes, when you do that big hall, we normally do it in total concrete slabs and everything else. I made it hollow. And I did these slabs in metal. So I was serious. I said, in case something goes wrong, I'll think of something else to create those halls into. Because, see, you have to look at the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And if you're sincere about it, and if you really work towards it, I'm serious, Ajit, we have, as retailers, as mall developers, we understand the pain, because also, good for us, the background is we know retail. We are retailers ourselves. And we know that if you don't make money, there's no hope on hell that you're going to pay me rent. You're either going to struggle for a year, maximum 2 years, then you'll say, thank you very much, I have to quit. So this is the balance that we need to go. Yeah. But talking about the economy, Ajit again showed us that slide, what the potential is. It's huge. Now, keeping that potential in mind, if we do things right, I believe we still have a long way to go.
Ajit, and I'm going to come back to you, to counter what Irfan said. But just taking forward, Arjun, with you, if I may. 2 points that Irfan mentioned. One is on the financing side, and I think that's a pretty pertinent point, and it had escaped my thought. How do you get in that financing, and if financing is going to be at the current rates, I'm not so sure that there is any evidence that we are seeing of momentum coming into mall development more than what has happened in the past. So clearly, it may be difficult to build the top 5 malls at a global level in India if that momentum is not achieved, and that momentum perhaps is not being achieved because of the financial outlay and the cost of capital that goes in. So that's one. Leading up to 2030, how do we resolve that? And the second is, your thoughts on this partnership, how it is going to get evolved between the retailer and the developer, because unless both of them are aligned, the prosperity of the retail business is not going to come through.
Okay, let me actually go straight to your first opening comment, Anuj, where you mentioned that, in your perception, in the next up to 2030, do you see India having the top 5 malls in the world, or the top 20? I truly also have my sincere doubts on it. And I think it leads from 2 points. One is, if you look at the last 10 years of governance, 2 big issues have happened. Land has become a very emotive issue in this country. Land is, in fact, is becoming even more emotive. With the land acquisition bill that was passed last year, to get access to land is going to be such an issue. And land is now going to be so prime that it's going to be very difficult for any developer, especially for non-builder developers, as Ajit wants some of us to build those new businesses. It's going to be very difficult to get lands. But there is hope in the offing. There is a plan of the 100 mega cities that we've heard about. I think if you really look at a crystal ball, I think some of these developments will have to come in these new cities. We don't have space in downtown Delhi or in Bangalore or in Mumbai to now afford those lands to create those mega projects that are being dreamt of. So I think one is that you'll struggle with that. The 2 things that I forecast happening is that, again, coming from my tourism experience, is that domestic tourism in this country is going to, and is growing very fast, is going to really, really grow outgrow any other outgoing and incoming tourism. So if we can integrate domestic tourism within our shopping center developments and create attractions like the Dubai Mall. And I'll give you one example. I was just telling Atul this. I have a daughter who's 5.5 years old. And 6 months ago, I took her to Dubai. And I took her on the second day to Kidzania. And on the third day, I took her to the ski slopes of the Mall of Emirates. At 4.5, she started skiing. And now she wants to go every month back to the Mall of Emirates and she doesn't want to go to Kidzania. She's made up her mind that it's not Kidzania that she wants, but she wants to learn that sport. So I'm having to go back. And of course, she's too young for me to take her to Switzerland or Stade or wherever. But I see that as a major attraction. Now, if we had something like that in the country, now for that, obviously, you need land. Now, when it comes to financing, that's the other problem that this government is done with, is that because they could not deal with the supply side of economics, where they could not deal with the supply side of dealing with inflation, the only tool they've had is to keep our interest rates artificially high. So it's the problem of the back end. The problem is that end. And Irfanji mentioned about 12 to 13% cost of capital. Cost of capital is 18 to 24% today. It is not 12 to 13% today. Okay, some of us may be A-rated and we have access to funds like that, but majority of the build out there is not 12 to 13%. So where is that mega development going to come? I struggle to think where that's going to come from. And truly, I come back to the point. I think the biggest developers are going to be, unfortunately, the m-commerce players, the e-commerce players. They will be the ones where organized retail is going to actually leap forward to. It's actually going to probably bypass the traditional centers in some form or the other. Till such time, a few of us actually get together and are able to conceive land and cost of both equity and debt at an affordable rate. So I think there are many challenges out there in this vision. I think it's a great vision to have. I think it's got us all thinking, and that's what Images does. That's what the India Retail Forum does. That it's got us all thinking. I think the creative juices will emerge, and I'm sure there will be something out there. On your third point about the relationship between retailers and mall developers, I think this is an evolving business. I know that when we started this discussion 7, 8 years ago, when we were building our shopping center, I think the discussions were far more acrimonious. I think today the discussions are really more mature. I don't remember a bad conversation. I think conversations have become very partnership oriented. We are trying to understand each other's businesses better. And I think the mall owner relationship and the retailer relationship has evolved. Yes, there will be issues. Yes, there are, when you come up with, there will be arm twisting happens. But I think we now have far deeper learning of the business, what each segment of the business can afford to spend, what existing businesses can afford to pay as rents, scams, developments. And I think it's a happy situation, a happier situation than it was. But I'm actually surprised when Ajit says that no mall developers have ever spoken to him. And I think that is really unfortunate. And I think that's really from our own shopping center businesses, I think a learning here to take away, that I think we need to talk to retailers. We need to understand, for example, someone like them really needs a lot of back-end spaces. They need storage. They need logistics. They need supplier movements throughout the night to deliver. So I think we have to talk these things out. We have to understand their pitfalls. And I think somewhere down the line, it's only going to get better. I'm positive. I believe the future is very good between the relationships, and I think we can make it work.
I was going to actually come to you after completing with Atul, and then you come to you. Atul, both Irfan and Arjun have been perhaps realistic in their thought process, saying is that whilst with the best will, we want the top 5 global placed malls to be in India out of 20. But realistically, whether it's financing, whether it's land, whether it's the ability to put it all together and have the requisite footfalls, it doesn't appear. Are you more optimistic than that, or your thought is very much in line with Arjun and Irfan's?
I am an optimist person, so I am sort of optimist about this. Having said that, I think there are 3 factors. I think some way or the other, all the panelists have addressed those. I think there are 3 major issues that we need to address, that how the consumer needs are changing. Second is the design aspects of a mall, which also kind of tilts towards the tenant and the developer relationship. And the third really is the industry, how it pans out, whether it's financing or also, the fatal flaw, like everybody is saying, of this industry is that there is mercantile DNA missing in the development of retail real estate in our country. Because the guys developing the malls are real estate people, but Mr. Razak, fortunately, is also a retailer, so I didn't know that. I think that's how he really understands the pain of a retailer and an operator. Being an operator myself, I feel that some scenarios can become very painful. But having said that, I think what I need to really touch upon in this discussion is really the consumer. I think we've, maybe I can add a little bit to that aspect. I feel, our country is it's got a very affluent middle class and is growing as shown by Ajit's presentation, but also is surrounded by mind-boggling poverty. I think we need to understand who our consumer is when we are building out the mall. But there are better prospects happening. Recent studies have shown that a male or an adult is spending the most of his time at a mall outside of his home and his office, which is good news. The other good news is that A mall visit is an unplanned visit, so he's visiting malls more often. So where is the issue? The issue really lies in what is he doing at the mall. You know, some of the high street stores have, or most of the high street stores have a higher per square feet sale than what a store in the same sort of a store would have in a mall. The issue is that you know, when a consumer is visiting a mall, he's actually not planned his what he wants to buy. It's not a planned visit. He's actually going there for some other purposes at times. I'll just kind of tell you a little small story. I was in Houston the other day, and America's had a very unusual, bad sort of a weather this year. And a friend of mine came to pick me up, and we decided to go for a walk at the Herman Park, but it was too cold. So he said, okay, let's just go mall walking at the Galleria. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, because it was bad weather, we actually went to the Galleria area to walk. And we did no shopping at all. And I think that is the prevalent culture in the United States. But what is also happening is that we are moving towards that particular culture as well. You know, we see a lot of, as mall operators, we see a lot of people visiting our malls for maybe recreational purposes. Ajit just mentioned that, you know, we've not done a very good job with creating recreational spaces. I think malls have become quasi-recreational zones, and rather than shopping. So I think as a retailer and as a developer, the challenge really is to have a merchandise or to have a tenant mix or a merchant or sort of merchandise mix that would actually encourage planned shopping rather than unplanned visits of a consumer. I think that's where the challenge lies. That's how we need to plan and design the mall better so that we get more of the planned visits like what happens on high streets. It's not that high streets don't have these kind of shops that fail. I mean, shops fail, new ones come by, but they are less noticeable. But they are more noticeable in a mall because it just kind of creates a dominoes effect, and one leaves, the other starts leaving, and you know, stuff like that happens. So I think we need to really understand the consumer. And also another important point I would want to make is when we're designing a particular mall, we must realize that, you know, as all of us mentioned, organized retail has just grown in the country to about 8% levels. So the entrepreneurs that have entered this industry are new to this industry. They're not retailers with histories. They're new to this industry, so they are going to experiment, innovate, and sometimes be brash with their experimentation. And if they're going to be brash as a mall developer, we need to be ready for that change. We need to have malls such design that we know that this guy is a newcomer. He may not be able to run the mall or run his shop well. We should be ready. Our design should be such that should be ready for changes. Like Mr. Razak mentioned that he had these, the cinema slopes were, you know, he had an alternate in mind while casting the cinema slopes. I think it's an excellent idea. So for our sort of a country where retail is just beginning to happen, I think design challenges need to be met with. We need to be very, very, very flexible in our design. And if we manage that, that's something we would have achieved. Coming back to your question of whether we can have one of the finer malls of the world, I think yes, but there has to be a collaborative effort between the developer, the government, and the architect. I think these are the three ways. Only if these three combine, or when you create these mega new cities like someone suggested, then can only that happen. I think we can get there. I think there is some open-mindedness coming towards achieving those goals. I think somebody could come out with an ambitious project and really make that happen. And I wish we see one very soon.
Well, thank you for being optimistic, but you know, two very valid points. One is on design, and that would create it. That would help creating, you know, great malls, which will be sustainable over a period of time. The second one, interestingly, you mentioned, and I think you sort of grazed through that, but I picked it up, is the retailers learning. You know, as the organized industry is getting more mature, there is learning of the retailers as well. I did three questions, so you know you can take your time as you respond. One obviously is on the relationship, and you know you sowed the seed of that discussion in terms of relationship, and where do you think in the next 16 years it's going to go? I think clearly from the perspective of the panelists who are sitting in there, all believe that there has been a lot that has been achieved over the last 16 years, and it seems to be running smoothly. But I think a very valid point that you mentioned is that none of the mall developers have contacted you to take in the input. So love to hear where you think that relationship is going to be in there. That's one. The second is where do you think, how the consumer is going to evolve over the next decade? I know Atul sort of touched on that. So, how is that going to happen? And third is, just as a retail sector, what are the challenges that you believe are going to be faced in that sector as a retailer over the next sort of 14, 15 years?
First, about the relationship, I think I'm an optimistic person. So, trust me, every relationship we have for 101 store, it's a very strong relationship. We coexist because there is a landlord. Chroma had the opportunity to open a store. That's how we believe it, and it's only going to get stronger. Talking about the gated city kind of a concept, and I firmly believe there is Irfan Bhai who runs the Prestige. There are Rahejas, Neil and Ravi do a fantastic job here in Mumbai. There is Vicky Oberoi, who does a fabulous job. It is possible to develop those kind of gated cities. Government of India is not probably going to sponsor some of these activities, but let the government be out of this conversation. But it will be possible if Rahejas, Prestige, Oberoi builders come together. We will be in a position to create that kind of infrastructure. About 20-30 malls also, I just want to say one thing. I firmly believe it is possible. I firmly believe in your abilities as the mall developers. And I think to showcase two products, what India has produced is the Mumbai International Airport and the Delhi International Airport are the two classy examples what India can produce. And this is done here in India. And yesterday, Times of India Mumbai had published the artistic impression of the new Bombay airport, how it will look like. Trust me, there isn't an airport of that kind in the world if we put our minds together and build that airport. So it is possible in this country. Talking about the retail and its challenges, Arjun did mention about omnichannel, and it sounded a little scary. I should be the one who should be scared of it, but I'm not at all worried about it. The reason being, it's very simple. If I stand outside on this JVLR road with a 100 rupee note in my hand and I offer it to you for 50 rupees, do you think I need to produce any business model for that? It's very easy to sell a 100 rupee note for 50 rupees. And that's what is happening currently in the .com space. It is the private equity money which is getting burnt over there. It's a game of valuation. We all sitting here, we look at the business of dividend. We need to produce the businesses which give us the dividend in long term. At the same time, it is a threat because if we keep our eyes closed, what happened to Circuit City in US can happen to us. But I rather look at the Best Buy and Dixon's model, which happened in my fraternity. They have come out of this mess very successfully because they have adopted to an omni-channel. And I was sharing with the panel members that Chroma is the first retailer now which has got a facility to order online and pick up from the store. So we also ensure that there's a footfall into the mall, into the store, which we are running. Because most of our consumers, they want that assisted help, especially when it comes to transfer of data. They want one more demonstration and we are there to serve. So if we work together, because somewhere down the line, if m-commerce and .com business becomes too popular, it is going to put a threat to your kind of businesses. If you end up putting up a mall in a tier 2 or a tier 3 town, it is much easier for me to reach out to that customer. Instead of taking a store in your place, I can do a .com business and I can reach out to that customer in Ranchi or Jabalpur or any other place in the country. It's much easier. So we need to work together and formulate a strategy which will look at the omni-channel as the way to go, rather than just looking at .com as a threat.
Thank you very much, Ajit. Last set of questions before I open it up to the floor. I'll start with you, Irfan. On the real estate side, do you think that in the next sort of 14 odd years, the tide would change again and the developers would start to look at investing into malls more favorably. And the reason I say is, if you look at it, it's a very intense asset. I think, Arjun mentioned it's more like hospitality. It's a huge financial drain. Unless FDI opens, you don't have the depth of the retail community to fill up, large malls. Land acquisition is a problem. And then you look at the other side, you've got huge amount of shortage of residential. You launch a scheme and you sell 50, 60, 70% in 24 hours. So my thought is, why would you want to do retail malls? And going forward, whilst with the best intent that you want to get into the retail business, developers may just say is, look, it's a tough business, it's a financially draining business, it's an intense business, and compared to that, I can do residential and it's a self-liquidating business.
Absolutely relevant points brought out by you, Anuj. In fact, like we discussed about financing and land. These are the two components really that go to make any shopping center. And the point that you brought about is, why would I do a retail center now, which is going to go through a pain and it's got a huge gestation period, rather than just taking the easy route out and just doing a residential development or an IT building which probably gets leased out faster, easier, and get you steady rental income. Having said that, see, it just can't be doing the vanilla stuff all the time. There has to be some challenge in life. If everybody thought the same way, there wouldn't have been an Infinity Retail, there wouldn't have been a Select City, there wouldn't have been a Forum brand. There have to be challenges, there have to be some out-of-box thinking, and there have to be that passion to create what is available to us outside our country in India itself. So to that extent, I think we've come large distance, like we were talking about our airports, and I don't know why Ajit left out the Bangalore airport. And believe you me, with the extended new airport, you get into the lounge, it's just amazing. For the size of the city and the size of the traffic, so our airports are getting better, our malls are getting better. Yes, the only problem is the real estate. Now, the same question which you asked me now, why would you not do a residential against a mall? Now, just recently, I pre-launched a project in Bangalore which has a component of residential at the rear side, and I have a 1 million square foot shopping center in the front. It's planned, it's just launched. The residential sales, like you said, the day we opened the blocks, 80-90% got sold on day one. So I have a partner, he was sitting with me yesterday in my cabin, and he said, sir, when this is happening, why did you go put a mall in the front? I said, listen, that's part of the chemistry. I've also done, apart from a mall, what I did is, I've designed a state-of-art cultural center, an auditorium, would call it a concert hall. And that's not, I know for sure that's not ever going to make money for me. But life is just not about, okay, the dividends are required, profits are required, but it has to be a combination which gets you that chemistry. And I said, look, all your profits that you're getting from the residential, we're going to put it into this shopping center. Maybe we'll have to invest some more, but at the end of it, after you create this you're going to leave it for generations. And this is something that you're creating because you want that to be relevant. You see, what the shopping centers today are just not shopping centers. They have to be experience centers. Now, we have to think out of the box and see how we can create experience centers. Now, when I say experience centers, now with the threat of e-commerce and everything else, if I create experience centers, very rightly put by Ajit, is I may be going online, looking at the product, I may be buying, but at the end of the day, I will walk into a shopping center, look at the product, feel it, and then ultimately buy it. Okay, there are a few things that you may not, but then see, there are things like food and beverage. There are things like cinema, there's entertainment. Pack in a lot more of those things. Bring in, see, like, again, I had written off that point. You see, I said, you're walking into a mall to be seen and to see. So this all part, it's part of social infrastructure that we are creating. And I think we can't go back on it. Only thing is we should try and do it the right way. Now, what the right way is, there's no textbook for it. It's a question of look, feel, and see, 14 years ago, 15 years ago, we didn't even have the architects, the designers for it. Today, we've got competencies. You just give a brief to an international architect who's done this over and over again, and you tell him your vision. I think they are able to produce some great designs, and you really have to probably fine-tune it to your needs. So the only thing that we lack in India is that tourism quotient. Now, again, if we have tourism, it's foreign tourism. If they have to visit your mall and shop in your mall, how do you bring a little bit of your country into the malls? Unfortunately, you don't have those retailers. Now, I think we need to see, we have to get those retailers who are catering to that segment of the business. There's a huge scope, apart from what you're doing for the local population, what you're doing for your residential. But if you're doing one of the best malls in the country or best malls in the world, you have to bring in, people have to visit you and get into the footfall. Apart from F&B, your experience center, your entertainment and all that, you bring in a bit of India into your shopping centers. That should be the thing, a bit of the local flavor into your shopping center. Sometimes we ignore. And what happens is you visit one mall, go to the next one, you see the same Arvind Mills brands, you see the same Madura Coat brands, you see the same Tata brands and the Reliance brands. There's nothing else. What's the differentiator? You blindfold somebody and take him there. I mean, apart from probably the flooring and the ceiling, the rest looks the same. So that's where we need to do some introspection. We need to see how we can be a game changer, how we can make a difference, and how we'll make our experience centers. Let's not call it shopping centers, or let's not call it, either you call it a family entertainment center or call it experience centers, into a success and make them bigger and better. I think potential is there, it's huge. It's only how we think and how we can translate our thinking into reality.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very interesting take on what you say. And I think as I read into that statement to say is that there is going to be very few developers who would want to take up and do malls, given that I don't think so in this environment there are many people around who love to take challenges. I think there are enough challenges on the plate of many of the people. I think taking on additional challenges at this stage, I'm not so sure. I know my friend here on the left has the appetite to take up additional challenges, but I'm not so sure there are many outside, who are going to be willing to take that challenge and have the financial wherewithal to be able to do that. But Arjun, coming to the point that you mentioned, and my views are pretty much in line with what your thought is. But it's interesting the way Ajit and Irfan mentioned about the e-commerce, because I've just been hearing from the international community that e-commerce is going to dominate the retail business, so much more than what we are expecting. And I think in some of the more mature markets in the UK, I think one of the retailers was saying is 20-25% of the sales is now happening through the net. Your thought that how in 15-16 years e-commerce is going to either favorably or adversely impact the mall developments?
Let me actually again refer to Irfanji's comment about experience. I think we have to build experiences around everything we do, especially around hard assets. You can't just no longer just put up, a brick and mortar business and expect people to walk in and walk out and do it. The one good thing that this business will be encouraged with is that we are now become, as shopping centers, a microcosm of the society. Society looks at us to come for events. So if you look at it, in all the big cities, where does the city celebrate Christmas or Diwali? Shopping centers celebrate festivals, be it Indian, be it international. So we celebrate everything. We're a small festival. So let's say near our shopping center, we have a very large Bengali community. So are we doing something with the Bengali communities? Durga Puja time. So I think we become a microcosm of the society that we live in, and I think that will encourage. Now let's really look at the last 16 years. The e-commerce affected a lot of businesses. I think if you look at it, we also said that who will go and watch cinemas when you have DVDs, when you have, you can download a movie for literally free. But we've seen that the cinema industry has still done very well, because people still want that experience of going out. You can't live within a bedroom and do everything from there. Human nature will not allow that to happen beyond a point. So I think the two will coexist. There is no fear of the fact that our business is threatened. But I think there will be extraordinary winners and there will be extraordinary losers. The winners will be the ones who create that extraordinary experience where each society or that microcosm wants it. There is no one answer. It doesn't mean that every mall now must have a ski slope or an aquarium. It just depends what is the USP of your catchment area, what you need to provide. So I think we have to look at each opportunity, each area as a big thing. Certainly, e-commerce will grow faster than traditional, than organized retail. I think we all will be I would say, placé if we feel that it's not going to affect us. Yes, there is private equity money out there, Ajit, which is chasing valuation. So they will pump in money, and traditional players like us who work on dividends and incomes will be threatened. So if you still look at it, in the great Amazon story, do you know, some of you know that Amazon still does not make money. And yet it's one of the most respected large cap companies in the world. And what is Amazon's single biggest desire? To kill Walmart. To kill Walmart. That's it. They just absolutely are targeting the Walmart customer globally. Now, it's for Walmart to come up with its own e-commerce strategy and to build that. So I think the two will exist. I think India will leapfrog that whole organized retail because we have challenges of infrastructure, we have challenges of capital. Look at the whole REITs story. You know, we've been dreaming of REITs for the last 10 years. Last year we heard that AIF3 will allow REITs, but they haven't figured the rules out. You know, they haven't told us how the taxation will work around it. Where is the depth in our markets to afford that kind of the build-up? So I think there are challenges out there. E-commerce will grow. So will our businesses grow, extraordinary businesses. And I think it's coming on the back of one very simple thing. The consumer is growing. The consumer's confidence is high. He will shop. He will consume. We are a very young country from a consumer perspective. Wealth in this nation will more than double and triple in the next 5 to 10 years. Per capita income will rise. A mature economy will emerge, which is, you know, move from an emerging economy to a mature economy. So I think there is positiveness out there. How it will shape out in the next 15 years is a crystal ball I'm not hesitating to guess at this moment.
Yeah. Atul, you know, the entertainment and multiplex industry has come a long way from, you know, where it was, you know, about 12, 15 years ago. You know, we had single screen, we had 3 screens, today 10, 12, 15, IMAX, you know, lots of things that have happened, particularly on the multiplex. And you're a large operator in the multiplex. I think if we can tell us, where do you think in 15 years this industry is really going to be? You know, that will help the people sitting in here, because they can then start to visualize and accommodate where, you know, the multiplex industry is really looking to get in.
Well, I think in India, multiplex industry is still going to be a favor with the audiences, in spite of all the proliferation of mega bandwidths and the high-speed internet connection that we may have. People will watch movies at home on their Apple TVs or other sources of entertainment. However, I feel the cinema experience cannot be replicated by any other medium, whether it's your mobile interface or your other interfaces that you may have. I think cinema industry is is here to stay, and for the next 15 years, I see a lot of additions in the country of screens. I estimate that the cinema audiences, as we grow in number of people, as we grow to 68 cities having more than 1 million of populace, I feel that the number of screens that today are about 11,000 should go up to 20,000 odd. Wow. Because you must also realize that down south in Andhra and Tamil Nadu, a lot of single screens still exist. So I see a lot of those getting converted into 3 to 4 screens. So if those 4,000 screens that are in the Tamil Nadu and Andhra eventually develop into a 4 screen each, there you have the count already there. So I think that movie-going habits are not going to change. In a recent study that we conducted, out-of-home entertainment, when a person is actually looking for entertainment out of his house, it's only movies and eating out. There is nothing else. We do not have any other public spaces that one can go to or any other avenues of passing time. So I think movies are here to stay because we are built around movies, our infrastructure, and it's easy to create cinema infrastructure, whilst it's more difficult to create other sorts of recreational infrastructure. So I hope, that I can say the same thing 15 years from now.
Yeah. And then continue to have all the villains as builders in all the Bollywood films.
No villain, no builder's a villain for me, not at all.
Ajit, sort of final comments from you. What do you think are the challenges that retailers are going to face? I think two challenges that we outlined. One is real estate, and whether it's the partnership or the quality of real estate. The second is e-commerce. What else do you think in the next sort of decade or so, the challenges that retailers are going to face?
I think the number one challenge all the retailers across, whether you're in .com space or whether you are running the brick and mortar model, is going to be the infrastructure and the movement of goods across the country. If we don't go, again, work with the government and the local bodies and create those pathways, you can order it online, but if the cities grow the way they are growing right now, you go out, step out of Mumbai and see the kind of structures which are happening, which are almost coming onto the roads. I don't know whether they are legal or not legal, but moving goods out of Bhiwandi to Mumbai, because Bhiwandi tends to be the destination for distribution centers, it's becoming challenging every day. That's why the concept of gated city was that when you develop the entire residential area, you develop the infrastructure, including the transport, including the warehousing could be underneath. You can go -2, -3, -4 in your large shopping mall. And your study showed that there will be more larger malls. So the distribution center could be probably hiding underneath your mall. That kind of thinking, out-of-box thinking is required now. Otherwise, we are heading for a disaster in terms of movement of goods in this country. I'm not talking about GST. I'm talking about the physical movement of goods.
And that's because of lack of infrastructure.
Complete lack of infrastructure. And like, when Kamal Nath was heading the ministry, we were supposed to be getting some 100 kilometers of roads every day. I think we ended up getting some 30, 40 kilometers per day.
I'm told, I think there was the statistics that Charu and I saw yesterday, which said 2 kilometers a day over the last 12 months. And it was meant to be 100 kilometers a day.
I mean, again, I'm not making any political statement here. I want to be very, very careful, especially these election days. I have a DC in Gandhinagar, and that DC in Gandhinagar supplies goods to Rajkot and to all the stores in Ahmedabad, Baroda and Surat. Many a times those goods move faster from Gandhinagar DC to Surat than moving goods from Bhiwandi to Harniman Circle in Mumbai. So wow. These are the facts of life. Because you have Octra in the city. You have, road infrastructure which is failing. Bangalore again is a classic case. The city has developed in multiple directions. But again, where is the infrastructure? And now, mind you, there is a very different government over there which has taken over from another government. But successive governments have failed and they have not given priority to the infrastructure development. That's the sad story.
Thank you very much. Very happy to open the floor for any questions that you may have. If you have, please raise your hand. I'm sure there are mics in there. Do introduce yourself, and if you got any panelist in mind that you want to address particularly, do mention. If you can have the mic to my right in the front row.
My name is Ravi Shankar. I'm from Central. Like you said, future is profit sharing. It's a pure profit, revenue sharing or profit sharing, whatever it is. There are certain categories which is having limited margin sharing, like food. If you take it, it's not a high margin fetching category. Apparel, it's high margin fetching category. How do you arrive certain calculation while making a mall if it is going to be margin only purely revenue sharing. So what is the thoughts behind it actually?
I think Ajit mentioned that, sorry, the question is that should it be revenue share or profit share? Is that the question?
No. You have said that it will be revenue share in future. But
Okay,
all the categories are not fetching same revenues or same profits.
Yeah.
Like Ajit mentioned, it's a profit share. It should be profit sharing. So if apparel, it fetch certain amount of better margin than when compared to food. But food retailer need more space. But apparel retailer need less space. So how do you address
That's
this?
a very simple thing. You can tweak the percentage of the revenue. So it's not necessarily that you have to pay a higher percentage of revenue equivalent to what you're going to pay for fashion. You know, food will be a much lower percentage of the revenue.
Yeah, that agree. Then second question is there any consolidation will happen in malls? Because like Irfanji said, wherever you go, you'll see the same brands. Most of the malls are same brands. Even inside departmental store also, either Lifestyle or Central or Shoppers Stop, same brands are inside. So is there any consolidation happens like in malls?
That's why I said we need to have a depth in shopping. We need to have more retailers. We need to have, that's why when we talk about, FDI and retail and all that, basically what we need is this foreign capital that needs to come is to come and develop our retailers, is to come and fund retailers who can have an organic growth and who can grow organically, who will have that capital, that wherewithal to actually produce the products that will give you the depth in shopping in our country itself. Today, dependency on imports and then like we discussed about the exchange rates and everything else, product becomes unaffordable, even if you're getting foreign brands. And then ultimately it's a no-no. Because whatever we are in our country, it's our actual target audience, though you may be having luxury and all that, which is a niche audience, your actual audience is in the middle class, lower middle class. Now, if you understand that, if you target that audience, if your product is completely targeted towards them, there's no way that you can fail. So I think we need to get that depth in retailers.
Thank you. I guess this is a follow-up question to the point just made. If you follow the news out of China recently, the first generation malls in Beijing and Shanghai, they were very dependent on international brands. And the last session, I think the statistic was nearly a quarter of the stores here in India are international brands. Now, especially the luxury brands, what's happened in China is the middle class in China now has the ability to travel. So they're buying the same goods that they used to buy in Shanghai and Beijing. They're now buying them in Italy or New York or anywhere else. So maybe in the form of a question, how do you avoid that phenomena here in India? If you put in so many luxury brands or international brands in general, but the Indian consumer now in the future and by 2030 is going to have much more opportunity to acquire those things overseas. So what happens?
Let me attempt to answer that. In the sense that if you actually look at growth of luxury retail in India, has been very subdued, very muted. Actually, it's far less than what China has experienced. I think if you're really looking at growth of retail in India, it's been the middle growth. You know, it's even for India, like let's say a Zara or a Mango is aspirational. And this is now moving to fast fashion, it's moving to affordable fashion, and that's really where the growth is. And I think for things like that, India will not go the route of the China route where, you know, you'll want to go and buy your products overseas. So for example, I recently had the opportunity of meeting Gap. You know, Gap is coming into India. And Gap actually said very clearly that their pricing for India is going to be between 5 to 10% lower than the US home pricing. Now, if you look at that, now that's the kind of approach they're taking. They're going to look at localization in the economy after they've reached a certain amount of scale and size. So I think India that way would miss that whole problem that China has experienced and will be probably not get affected.
Thank you.
But I have just one question actually to Ajit, and I think that question came from there. What do you mean by profit share? This is the first time I have heard of an expression, and I'm a little curious.
I was trying to find it out whether that was what the question was, because it is a curious question.
I want to ask that question. What is profit share? I still can't figure. How will we determine that?
Yeah, profit share, you need a huge amount of transparency between the retailer and the mall owners. Very happy to run a company which is owned by Tata Sons. So there's a huge amount of transparency. My yesterday's sales are yesterday's sales, and I have to report that. So you can be rest assured that I will be in a position to declare all the things in the right way to you. That's number one. Number two, what I was talking about is in the Western world today, if you look at the Westfield malls and others, they actually invest into the infrastructure. If you are to put up a supermarket, and I have done that, I have worked on your side, so I'm just not a retailer. I know I'm in the minority here today, but I have, in Australia, I used to run a mall. So their our partners were a large supermarket chain, and when we wanted them to come into our store, what we did was the entire racking was invested by us. Entire lights and the flooring was done by us. By virtue of that, they were equally transparent with us in terms of their profit declarations, and at the GP level, we had a percentage coming back to us. So it was not only the revenue share, which was very minuscule, but at the GP level, the percentage was much higher. And we were always committed, this is something which we need to learn in this country also. The mall developers, mall owners are responsible for the footfalls and not the retailers. Invariably, we try to do it other way around in most of the places, except a couple of places you gentlemen run. And again, there is a problem that there are only a handful of you. You are there, Rajesh are there, Irfan Bhai is there. They are responsible for the footfall, but larger fraternity depends on the retailers. And that's where most of the malls also fail. So I think I gave you an answer and also a little bit of a question.
Food for thought. Yeah. Just last two questions we'll take. I know that we're sitting in between you and the lunch. So last two questions, please go ahead.
Hi, so my name is Ajay. And this is not much of a question, but it's more of a comment. I just wanted to add to the story that Mr. Irfan mentioned about the making of Forum. And I wanted to sort of add to that story. I was a part of the food court that got created over there. We designed it with him, and I think the vision that he brought to the entire food court and the belief that he had in the entire design made it possible for the food court to happen the way it happened. And I think it's still one of the most successful commercial food courts in that sense. So the point that I'm making over here is that very often, whilst we can look at all the statistics and we can look at everything else, it's often the vision that the developer will have will make all the difference in being able to make it successful. So I salute Mr. Irfan for that.
Very good. Hi, lady at the end, the last question will just, sorry, the panelists are going to be here, so you can network over lunch. But the young lady at the end, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Arushi Bhargav and I represent the Lodha Group. I basically am an economist and I look after the strategy for commercial properties. My question is to the entire forum, to the panel. So obviously we've discussed, one, the fact that there is pressure due to e-commerce. There is pressure due to increase in mall size in terms of square feet area. So all of these factors clubbed together, plus the fact that the business ultimately is financially draining. If we are to achieve the 2030 vision that we are speaking of, how important is a hybrid version? When I say hybrid, obviously something which includes perhaps commercial, retail, as well as residential. And to couple with this, my second question becomes, is there the need for a regulating body, either external or an internal, of experts from the industry who might help achieve what we are setting out to?
The second one, I know what the answer is, but I'll let Irfan take both those questions.
Talking about regulation, and Atul also talked about doing cinemas in Tamil Nadu. Does anybody, I don't know whether Atul is operating any cinemas in Tamil Nadu. The ticket price can't be more than 110 rupees. And I've got an operator called Satyam Cinemas who's got the most luxurious cinemas. And I just can't, with his capex and spend and the rent that he pays, I just don't understand how he ever can make money. Now, see, government can't go into regulation of a cinema ticket. And what really happened was, catching that disease, we have a new minister now in Bangalore. He learnt it from Tamil Nadu and started making public statements saying that, look, Tamil Nadu is charging 110 rupees and these multiplex operators are looting. They're charging 500, 400, 1,500 rupees for ticket. They have to be regulated. Now, I called him up. I told him, look, don't go towards the communist and the socialist way. That's over, that's finished. You're a progressive government and you need to think progressively. You've got better things to do. You're also an infrastructure minister. Please look at the infrastructure and see how you can make life easy for us and better for us. And don't think about this regulating the cinema ticket. And you know what he told me? He said, look, when I made the statement, everybody was applauding me. I said, obviously they'll applaud you because they're getting a free lunch. So in our country, we want reservation, we want subsidies, we want everything for free. And unfortunately, today, as this part about infrastructure, Ajit said, this same conversation I had with one of my ex-colleagues. I was driving with him from the airport, and I was looking at these poor guys in the shanties sitting there. I said, like 60 years after independence, we do not have that thing to give them a roof with sanitary conditions, living conditions. Look at our infrastructure, look at the roads aside. Now, all this, it's Mumbai. Okay, fine. Whether it's Mumbai, Delhi, close your eyes. It could be Chennai, it could be Bangalore. The only reason why it's not happening is whatever political party comes in, whatever political system comes in, if our political system, if our bureaucracy both get honest, there is integrity in the system. And now the answer that I got from this gentleman was, he said, sir, it's their business. I said, it's their business. They feel that they're spending money to get elected. They'll tell you all sorts of stories. At the end of the day, when they come in, they forget those stories and they'll just say, how much can I make? If that stops, I'm not giving any political speech. This is very close to my heart. And this is what, when Ajit was saying, I was itching to say this. I said, let me now just conclude it. If that cheating stops, if that thuggery stops, if that entire looting stops, we've got enough money in this country to create, now when we can create a Mumbai International Airport, when we can create a Delhi International Airport, we can create our cities into Singapores and New Yorks and Londons and what else. It's just that somehow or the other, we've got this unfortunate thing, a political system, and I'm not saying everybody is bad, I'm not painting everybody with the same paintbrush, but generally that's the rule. There's exceptions, but the rule is, unless we change that rule, unless we change that thinking, unless better people come in, let's hope we are in for better days, that 16 years later when we are sitting here, we are saying we are a new India, we've got something completely different. I think with this note, I'll stop talking.
Thank you very much. It's been a pretty engaging panel. I'm not so sure, Amitabh, you got the answer to whether there were going to be 5 best malls out of the 20. My guess is probably we'll have one at least coming up in 2030, which will be at a global level, well respected. I think 6 or 7 points, just quickly summarizing where the challenges are going to be. I think really, Arjun, from your side, land and Irfan, financing, those are the 2 big challenges. Atul, design, I think that has been a big challenge, and going forward, if respect to design is not given, that will become a challenge. Infrastructure, I think, so that's the 4th point. Infrastructure, if in the country is not put in, we're not going to get, great facilities. Retailer learning and retailer challenges and how they are accommodated in making a successful mall. And the last point that Irfan mentioned is the governance. We need to see a lot more transparent governance coming in from the bureaucracy and the politicians within this country. So hopefully in 2013, then we will have at least one good mall at a global level that we will be very proud of. Thank you very much. Thank you for being patient. I'm going to hand it over back to you.
Firstly, could we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Arjun Sharma for giving such an awesome and empowering chairman's address. Mr. Irfan Razak, Mr. Ajit Joshi, Mr. Atul Goyal, and Mr. Anush Puri. Thank you so much for sharing your views, suggestions, and talking about the challenges for a strategy for 2030 and a vision as to how to make it possible. Thank you so much. And a huge round of applause once again, please.
How the